She thought he was testing her patience, her kindness, her limits. She believed the broken shoes, the borrowed jacket, the humble meals were all life had given him. What she didn't know was that every step, every silence, every uncomfortable moment was part of a question. And when she finally answered it, without realizing, he led her straight to a private jet. Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I have always believed that love should feel safe. Not dramatic, not dizzying, just steady. But safety had never really chosen me. At 28, my life was a careful routine stitched together with early mornings and quiet evenings. I worked at a small interior decor studio downtown, the kind where sunlight filters through dusty windows and coffee cups leave permanent rings on mood boards. I lived alone in a modest apartment that hummed at night, the refrigerator clicking like it was thinking too hard. My friends said I was independent. My mother said I was too patient. The truth was simpler. I was tired of being invisible. Every relationship I'd known had come with conditions. I was loved when I gave more, waited longer, asked for less. Somewhere along the way, I started wondering if I was only valuable when I was useful. My quiet need, one I barely admitted to myself, was to be chosen without earning it. I met Daniel on a rainy Tuesday that smelled like wet concrete and burnt espresso. He was standing in line behind me at a cafe near my office, apologizing to the barista because his card declined. His voice wasn't embarrassed, just gentle, like disappointment was something he'd learned to carry carefully. I paid for his coffee without thinking. He tried to refuse. I insisted. Our fingers brushed when I handed him the cup, and something small but warm flickered in my chest. Daniel didn't look impressive. His jacket was worn thin at the elbows. His shoes had seen better years. But his eyes, there was something steady there, observant, as if he noticed things most people rushed past. We started talking, then walking. Then somehow, days became dinners, and dinners became long conversations where time loosened its grip. He never suggested expensive places. We ate street food under buzzing lights, shared fries, laughed when the wind stole our napkins. Still, there were moments that tested me. He was always careful with money, counted coins, hesitated before ordering. Once, when the waiter walked away, I saw something cross his face, relief mixed with shame, and my heart ached in a way I couldn't explain. Part of me wondered if this was another lesson life was offering. Can you love someone without being rescued? Can you stay when there's nothing to gain? One evening, after weeks of this quiet closeness, Daniel asked me to trust him. "Come with me tomorrow," he said, his voice low, serious. "I want to show you something." The next day, he led me past the city, past places I recognized until the roads grew wide and empty. The air changed, cooler, sharper. We stopped in front of a massive building with tall metal doors. I thought it was a warehouse, or maybe a terminal. Daniel squeezed my hand, and the doors began to open. The doors rose slowly, the way something heavy does when it's not meant to be rushed. Cold air spilled out first, clean and sharp, carrying a scent I didn't recognize at the time. Polished metal and fuel, powerful and distant. I took a step forward, then froze. Inside the hangar, light poured down from high industrial lamps, reflecting off smooth white curves that didn't belong to any warehouse or bus terminal I'd ever seen. My breath caught somewhere between confusion and disbelief. The space felt vast, echoing, like the inside of a secret.
And there it was.
A private jet? It sat there quietly, impossibly sleek, its surface gleaming as if it didn't belong to the same world as my scuffed shoes and secondhand coat. For a moment, my mind refused to cooperate. I searched for a rational explanation, something small and ordinary enough to make sense. Maybe we were lost. Maybe this was someone else's mistake.
I turned to Daniel, ready to laugh it off, to tell him we should leave before someone yelled at us.
But he wasn't laughing. He stood straighter now, his shoulders no longer slouched, his expression calm in a way I hadn't seen before. Not nervous, not apologetic, just certain. The kind of certainty that settles into a room and quietly takes control of it. "Daniel," I whispered, my voice sounding too loud in the open space, "why are we here?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at me, not quickly, not nervously, but slowly, as if he were memorizing my face, my confusion, my widening eyes, the way my fingers tightened around the strap of my bag, like I might need to run. "I need you to listen," he said. Something in his tone made my stomach drop. The air felt heavier now, pressing against my chest. My heart began to beat faster, each thud echoing in my ears. "I haven't lied to you," he continued, "but I haven't told you everything." The words landed harder than I expected. Haven't told you everything. I thought of every moment I'd defended him in my mind, every time I told myself that love wasn't about comfort, that struggle was normal, that patience was proof of character. I took a step back without meaning to. "Is this a joke?" I asked, my voice thin. "Because if it is, I don't think it's funny." A faint smile touched his lips, not amused, not cruel, but sad, almost relieved. "I wanted to know who you were," he said quietly. "Not who you'd be if things were easy, not who you'd be if I impressed you." The hangar seemed to fall silent around us, like the world was holding its breath. I could hear the distant hum of machinery, the soft echo of our voices bouncing back at us. "You let me be poor," I said, the realization stinging as it surfaced. "You let me think you were struggling." He nodded once. "You stayed," he said, "when it wasn't convenient, when it wasn't glamorous, when there was nothing to gain." My chest tightened, emotions colliding. Anger, confusion, something dangerously close to hurt pride. All my life, I'd been tested without my consent, by men, by circumstances, by love itself. "And what happens now?" I asked. "Do I get a score?" Daniel stepped aside and gestured toward the jet. The door stood open now. A narrow staircase extended like an invitation into another life. "Now," he said softly, "I tell you who I really am." And before I could decide whether to follow him or walk away forever, he took my hand and led me toward the aircraft. The steps beneath my feet felt unreal, solid yet unfamiliar, like I was walking into someone else's dream. The interior of the jet glowed with soft light, cream leather seats, polished wood, quiet luxury that seemed to hum rather than shout. The door closed behind us with a muted finality, sealing me inside a moment I hadn't agreed to, but couldn't escape. I stood there, heart racing, every instinct torn between awe and betrayal. Daniel didn't rush me. He moved with the ease of someone who belonged here, unbothered by the space, by the wealth, by the silent power wrapped into every detail. That, more than anything, hurt, because it meant this wasn't borrowed. It wasn't luck. It was his. I'm the CEO of a global logistics and aviation company, he said at last. His voice was calm, almost careful. I started it 12 years ago. We move cargo, people, medical supplies, places others won't or can't. The words floated toward me, heavy and unbelievable. CEO, private jet, global. They didn't fit the man who counted coins at street stalls, who wore the same jacket twice a week, who apologized for ordering tea instead of coffee. You watched me, I said slowly, my throat tight. Every time I offered to pay, every time I chose the cheap place, every time I defended you in my head. Yes, he admitted, and every time I hoped you wouldn't feel small next to me, that you wouldn't think I owed you an explanation for not being impressive enough. That did it. The sting behind my eyes finally broke free. I've spent my whole life proving I'm worth staying for, I said, my voice trembling, and you turned that into an experiment. He flinched, not dramatically, not defensively, but like someone who knew he deserved the pain he'd caused. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said. I was hurt once, badly. When people find out who I am, they change. Their laughter gets louder, their expectations heavier. I wanted one person who looked at me and didn't see a future shaped by money. I sank into one of the seats, the leather cool against my palms. My reflection stared back at me from a glossy surface nearby, eyes wide, face flushed, a woman caught between two truths. You should have trusted me, I whispered. I was trying to learn how, he replied. Silence settled between us, thick and complicated. Outside the small oval window, the sky stretched endlessly, pale and open. I thought of my quiet apartment, my careful routines, the smallness I'd learned to accept. And if I'd walked away? I asked. If I'd decided you were too much work? Then I would have let you go, he said, and I would have known the answer. That was the moment I understood the real test hadn't been about money. It had been about power, about whether I'd stay when there was none, and whether I could forgive when there was too much. The jet began to move, a gentle vibration beneath us, like a heartbeat coming alive. Where are we going? I asked. Daniel looked at me, eyes searching, hopeful and afraid all at once. Somewhere honest, he said. If you're willing. I didn't answer right away. Because for the first time in my life, being chosen wasn't the question. Choosing was. The jet lifted smoothly, almost quietly, like it didn't want to disturb the storm inside my chest. The city shrank beneath us, lights blurring into soft constellations, and with every inch of distance, my old life felt thinner, less certain but strangely lighter. I stared out the window, watching the clouds part like something was being revealed just for me. My reflection hovered faintly in the glass, layered over the sky. I looked like someone standing on the edge of a decision that would split her life into before and after. I don't need the jet, I said finally, or the company, or any of this. I know, Daniel replied without hesitation. That's why this matters. He didn't reach for me, didn't try to convince me with promises or apologies shaped like excuses. He just waited, the way he always had, the way I hadn't noticed until now. I was angry, I continued, my voice steady but raw, because it felt like you were measuring me, like I was back in every relationship where love had rules I didn't agree to. I wasn't measuring your worth, he said softly. I was afraid of mine being the only thing you saw. That landed somewhere deep, because for the first time I saw it clearly. This wasn't a powerful man testing a woman. It was a lonely man hiding, hoping someone would choose him before the truth arrived.
I turned toward him. You don't get to decide for me what I can handle.
He nodded. You're right. And if you walk away after this, I'll accept it. The plane leveled out, the hum steady and constant, like a breath finally released. In that quiet, something inside me shifted. I thought of all the times I stayed when I shouldn't have, all the times I left because I wasn't chosen. This time was different. You didn't need to be poor to deserve love, I said, and I don't need to be tested to prove mine. His eyes softened, something unguarded breaking through. Then what do we do now? I reached out, placing my hand over his, not because of the jet, not because of the title, but because in that moment he wasn't hiding anymore. Now, I said, we start over. No secrets, no performances. A smile spread slowly across his face, the kind that looked like relief more than triumph. The jet carried us forward into something uncertain, honest, and terrifyingly real. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting to be chosen. I already had been. By him. And by myself.